Yeah. Ultimate Doom.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Wonderful graphics.
Incredible graphics.
I guess, I mean, we're about to start, but like, what's your experience with this game? This is a game I feel like you probably played, right?
I definitely played. So Ultimate Doom is just the original Doom, but with like add-ons or something, right?
Yeah, the specifics of Ultimate Doom is that they added the 4th episode, Thy Flesh Consumed, as well as like various updates. It's the final version of the game. Doom actually is one of the first games that had like version downloads. There's some changes, like that switch on that pillar, that's not there in the original version of the game, which opens up a wall. I'll show it off later, like towards the end of the level.
Okay. I don't know if I've played through... have I? Maybe I did, but I just jumped right to episode 4 because I was impatient. I'm not sure. I played through Doom. The original Doom, Doom 2, and I believe I started Final Doom, but did not finish Final Doom.
I've never finished Final Doom. Final Doom is... I mean, it's good, but it is... I struggle to call it official. It's basically 2 megawatts, but...
I was gonna say, it seems like It seems like I don't know, like a not canonical Doom, but just like...
Yeah.
A bunch of, like, Doom pros decided to make some extremely difficult levels.
Yes, well, that's effectively what it was, and then id Software was like, hey, guys that are making these levels, we'll officially release it in a box for money with your names on it. And it was like, okay, which is kind of weird. I think Final Doom is kind of a lot of split reactions to it. I don't know. I don't actually know too much about the community response to Doom. All I know is my thoughts on it.
Anyway, here we are talking about Final Doom in the middle of...
Yeah, in the middle of Doom 1. In the middle of E1M1, of course, this is Hanger. I think this is one of the most important first levels of any game. Like, it's this and Super Mario Brothers for me, in my head.
Yeah.
John Romero has talked about the horseshoe design, the iterative design process that he went through, all sorts of stuff. Like, he's talked about it pretty publicly through various means. Yeah, it's just super interesting. There's a lot of technological advancement too, like non-orthogonal walls and just the way that textures are spread. I mean, this game isn't 3D, but it's sort of a pseudo-fake 3D. I mean, it's not fake 3D, but it's not 100% 3D either.
Right.
Okay, one thing that I do have to mention, though, is I talked about the classic levels in Doom 2016. I guess technically this is like a sister series. It's like a side thing to that. I guess. I mean, I want the videos to stand on their own a little, but I wanted to show this off just because, like, after having watched and played through that part, you now get to experience... I mean, Doom Guy is way too tall. I don't know why they made these maps so small.
Yeah.
It's, like, super cramped, first of all.
Yeah, you seem huge.
You seem huge. And then, you know, you're fighting the new versions of the enemies, which... You know, these possessed soldier guys are like way, way tougher than the original zombie guys of Doom that die in like one hit.
Right.
So that's like, that feels weird. You can jump, like I jumped that gap earlier. Like, original Doom, you can't jump. I'm gonna complain a lot about this because it's bad. Imps are supposed to be all mobile in the new game, and they fucking put this guy up here. He can't do anything. Like, and you can just jump up and, like, it's so weird.
Maybe that's why they made you tall, so that you can actually do that.
I guess. There's a secret wall there. You can't jump through it, which doesn't... I mean, this is like a nerd complaint, but it doesn't make any sense. You can't... If a wall is... If you can pass through a wall, then you can pass through it both ways in the original Doom engine, so That's a change that they had to make. So, and the slits in the wall are not a single texture. There's so much. It's like, you know that painting of Jesus that person like painted over, and it looks like a fucked up face.
It looks like a smashed brownie.
Yeah, that's kind of. I mean, I hate to use that example because, like, I'm sure, you know, it was somebody's job to port this level into this game, and they did the best that they could. And so I don't want to like insult them. And there's no sprint button, so it's like really fucking hard to get to the secret. And there's no diminished, like, there's diminished lighting, but the baked-in lighting is gone, so I can't see the fucking line depth that I'm supposed to run over to trigger that.
Oh.
You can't jump out of this window because that's blocked. I mean, it makes sense because it's supposed to be a window, but... Anyways, and then when you end the level, like, it just fades to black. You don't even get the cool screen.
It doesn't melt.
It just kicks you... Yeah, it doesn't melt. It doesn't have the cool melt. It just kicks you back to the menu. So... This is why I'm not going to be playing through all these classic maps that you unlock in the game, because they just suck. That's kind of why I'm doing this instead, is because this will show off all the classic maps. This will show off what Doom was in comparison to what it became. Which, it's funny, there's a lot of similarities, but there's also so many differences. Anyways, I got all fired up. Now I need to calm down. I don't like getting fired up because like I said, I know that it was somebody's job. Like, somebody worked hard on that, and so respect. I didn't work hard on that, that's for sure. But also, it sucks. Like, I just have to be honest. It's a shame. I wish it didn't suck. I wish that it was better. But maybe there was a time crunch, you know? Maybe it's not even really that person's fault. Whatever. Moving on. So, the first level really just introduces you to, you know, you open doors and whatever. Now we've got a red key card that I picked up walking backwards into it, which...
Hell yes.
I didn't really... The Doom 2016 videos are definitely more curated. Like, I pay way more attention to everything. And this is just like... I've played through this game probably 40 or 50 times, so I, like, this is all second nature at this point. This is all just the back of my hand. Like, I can't think about this game while I'm playing it, because it's like a Zen moment, you know? I just experience it while I'm playing it.
I love explosive barrels.
Yeah, I love turning guys into piles of giblets. When they take enough damage from a source, they just turn into gore, which barrels can do, and rockets can do, and stuff. I love the shotgun in this game. It's so... Like, a lot of games now, you know, shotguns have, like, piss-poor range. The shotgun's got some beef to it. You can hit dudes from pretty far away pretty accurately. Obviously it has some spread, but, like, it's good. I kind of like all the guns in this game, except the pistol, but, I mean, I don't hate the pistol. It's fine. It's just once you get the chain gun, there's no point.
This song feels like a grittier, metal-y version of, like, a Cake song or something. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, the music was done by Bobby Prince. Getting that name right? If I get it wrong, I'll poorly overdub myself. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Bobby Prince. And yeah, he did all the music for Doom 1. I think it's all great. He made some wonderful MIDI loops. There's a lot of what is it, 12-bar blues? Is that what that's the name of it, I think. I mean, obviously this isn't blues, but the structure of it is very, like, if you hear right there, it just passed, like, it goes up a couple of notes, like, his like, the pattern is the same, but then, like, he'll change the pitch of it slightly, and then, I don't know, whatever. I don't know a lot about music. I know a little bit. I know enough to recognize what he's doing. And a lot of the songs in this game are like that, but I like the music in this game a lot.
For sure.
it's super classic.
Does the chainsaw have infinite ammo in this game?
Yep.
Nice.
So, yeah, unlike 2016 where you have limited uses, yeah, the chainsaw is just, I guess, much like the chain gun is strictly an upgrade to the pistol, the chainsaw is just strictly an upgrade to the bare fists. Like, if you just need a melee option.
Oh yeah, I had to consider that the chain gun is just the pistol, but faster.
Pretty much. There are a couple of specific downsides, which is like, the chain gun always fires at least 2 shots every time you pull the trigger once, and the pistol you can shoot 1 bullet. But otherwise, the damage profile is actually the same, so the faster rate of fire just makes it strictly better for dealing damage. The damage in Doom is actually kind of interesting. It's semi-random, so every, like, bullet hit... Oh, I forget exactly. I mean, it depends on the weapon, and they're all in intervals of 5, but, like, I think the chain gun does, like, 5, 10, or 15 damage per bullet, which is kind of like a weird, wide variance, but, and the shotgun is like the same way, like each pellet of the shotgun does slightly different damage. This is all, like, holdover stuff from the id guys were just playing D&D all the time. So, like, the elements of semi-randomness and damage is just, like, rolling dice, and so it was just what made sense to them to do. I don't think it's actually a bad thing. I think it makes the game kind of interesting.
Isn't that what that one monster is? It's based off the Abyssal Dreadnought. The red orb guy.
Yeah, the Kako Demon. Yeah, it was just literally, I mean, I shouldn't say literally, allegedly, but I mean, if you look at the cover of whatever, I don't know if it's Astral Planes or some monster manual or something that, like, has that demon on the cover. The Kako Demon is just that face that's on the cover of that book.
Right.
Like, the front of it. Obviously, Adrian Carmack that did the art for this game. It's actually, I mean, I don't... But, there's elements of... I don't even want to go down that road. But, like... Yeah, Adrian Carmack did the art for this game. He, super talented dude. There's a lot of... Some of these guys, not most of these guys, some of these guys are, like, clay figures that were, scanned in. I don't think any of the zombie guys are, but I know the Revenant was, and the Spider Mastermind, and some other demons like that. Adrian Carmack has no relation to John Carmack, who is the coding wizard that developed the engine, you know, for this game.
Oh, weird.
And most did, yeah. It's weird that they have the same last name, but yeah. And then John Carmack and John Romero are, from a practical perspective, like the 2 main guys, sort of. John Romero is the lead, or I guess was the lead designer for this, and John Carmack was, I guess, the lead programmer. I don't think they had these titles, and even I could be getting that wrong from, like, a descriptive point of view, but just sort of knowing what they did, what work they did do on the game, that would be sort of how I classify them.
Damn, hit this guy.
I can't. Sorry. I'm playing this on keyboard. I have no mouse when I'm playing this. I like playing this game with no mouse.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like just using the keyboard. But it does mean that my aim is just horrible. It was designed early on to just be played with mouse, though. Yeah. I guess this is like a detail that doesn't matter, but I might as well talk about it. I'm playing this through the Chocolate Doom source port, which is basically just... It's a source port that plays it pretty close to vanilla, like almost literally as close as can be. It just For later videos, I'm actually going to switch source ports to Crispy Doom, which is effectively the same thing as Chocolate Doom, except you can get like higher resolutions and uncap the frame rate and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm still going to be playing by the rules, though. There's other source ports that are like give you 3D mouse look and stuff, and that I can't abide.
Yeah, Brutal Doom.
Yeah, or like GZ Doom, stuff like that. Yeah, where you can just... And yeah, don't even get me started on Brutal Doom as like a total conversion, because like there's a lot of stuff in Brutal Doom that I think sucks. There's like some contention. I don't remember what that guy's name is that made Brutal Doom, but there's some contention. He was like, they ripped off the glory kills from my thing because I have like finishing moves in it.
No.
That's like, whatever, dude. Shut up. That's not true.
Oh, great.
Anyway, yeah. I'm not gonna get into a whole thing, but that guy, I don't like that guy. I'm not a big fan. He had some, yeah. Maybe I should get into a little and just leave it hanging, but there was like some weird racism found in his code.
What?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what he said, but there was some contentious words, I guess, to put it lightly.
Oh shit.
That he had in his code. Yeah, I don't know anything about. I shouldn't say I don't know anything about it, but like I know very little about it. I am not getting this wrong, but I'm missing some of the details that someone else could fill in better. And frankly, I don't like giving that guy the time of day. Yeah.
I guess he just got too famous with his mod, and now he thinks he's the real Doom reboot.
Yeah, he's the real Doomer.
Oh god.
I like Doom, and a lot of retro shooters, I guess, have really taken off in popularity over like the past couple of years, maybe the past 4 or 5 years, and it's been really fun to see. Like, there's this whole, because for instance, right, like I was born in '94, and OG Doom, like the original release of it was in December of '93. So like this game is older than I am, but I still love this game like tremendously. I played it a little bit growing up, but not like extensively. Mostly just like the shareware episode, which is this episode, but it doesn't have like doesn't have like the rest of it. Yeah, exactly. Like everybody remembers this part of Doom because it was free. And that was by design. It was called shareware. They released the first episode for free, and if you wanted the rest of it, you could buy it. And that's like a super confident model of freeware.
That's what EA thought they were doing with the rebooted Battlefront 1.
Yeah.
But they weren't.
No. That's... oof. Oh, man. And then that led to the loot box disaster of Battlefront 2. That was...
Yeah.
That we are still reeling from the fallout of, like, and oh my god.
Well, we'll once again not get a Battlefront 3 from.
Yeah, the second time we're not getting a Battlefront 3.
Yep. Here we go again.
So this is the secret level of this episode. Every episode of Doom 1 has 8 missions, 8 maps, and then 1 secret map. So in that last map, you can just go to the exit, but then if you get the bridge to raise in Toxin Pit, which you have to find the switch to flip to do that, you can get to the secret exit and get to the secret map, which I guess the only reason I bring it up is because maybe not a lot of people like that have played this. Maybe certainly when I played through Doom as a child, I didn't know about this secret map. I mean, you could find it through like console commands, but here's a
yeah, I was gonna
trap.
say.
You can hear a bunch.
Here we go. Step on the star.
You can hear a bunch of demons. You can even see a little black square up on the side So this is like a classic Doom engine built thing, which is like that black hole is a little sound pipe that's going into a room where there's just a bunch of demons that are in like a blank room with no door, right? And then when you step on the star, it lowers like a platform or like opens a door, I'm not sure exactly which, that has like a teleporter on it, so the demons can just walk onto the teleporter.
Okay.
There's so many... This game doesn't have like... You can't spawn in enemies, like you have to...
They have to be placed.
Yeah, and so like if you want to ambush the player, you have to do really creative things. Which is, again, talking about how I feel like this game is like required to be studied by people that are interested in game dev, because the creative solutions that the devs that made this game had to go through, like, they came up with some really fucking good creative solutions, is my point. Because they had an idea of what they wanted to do. Wouldn't it be fun if you put a bunch of goodies on a star and then ambush the player when they pick them up?
Yeah.
And that is a good idea. That is fun.
That reminds me of some of the workarounds I had to do in Neverwinter Nights when recreating the Diablo game. Because I too had to work within the confines of the game's engine to get my, required output, and sometimes that meant compromising because I couldn't figure out a way.
Absolutely, yeah. And compromise is a huge part if you have like a specific idea, like if a modder for Doom has like a specific idea, there are just certain things that can't be done unless you modify the engine. Like, if you're just going off the base game, there's a lot of things the game can't do. But like I said, there's a bunch of different source ports of this game, so people love this game enough that they're willing to work around that stuff.
I'm enjoying this chainsaw moment.
Wonderful chainsaw action here, yes. That's what the chainsaw is good for. So, this game has a mechanic called pain, which is when you shoot or injure a demon, they will flinch sometimes. It's a random chance. And some demons have higher random chance than others to experience pain. But like, it'll stop them from attacking you, right? Like, they get shoved into an animation where they're like flinching. So the chainsaw and the chain gun both have really high rates of fire. Like, it's weird to think of a chainsaw as having a high rate of fire, but like the damage per second, like the per ticks, it like ticks really fast, the amount of damage it outputs. So it's really easy to stun lock demons with the chainsaw. But it's only good for one target at a time, so like, you can deal with the one guy and he'll probably not attack you much, but if you're not careful, like, part of the reason I did it was because I was in a really narrow hallway, so like, I wasn't gonna get surrounded. Which, I love the tactics of this game. Again, like, just to gush about how much I enjoy this game, like, there's so many, the sandboxiness of it, like, the way all the different monsters are implemented and stuff, like, map design and monster design and the types of weapons you have are all just, like, tools. It's all just elements of the sandbox working together, which is super, like, it makes for in my opinion, like, an infinitely replayable game. Because it's just so much, like, fun, I don't know, just going through those creative solutions. So.
Yeah. Being able to go through, yeah. I mean, so so you have like a rhythm that you said you've established for this game. Do you find yourself deviating from it on your playthroughs of this?
Not a lot. I tend to follow the same path, but because of some of the elements of randomness, this game isn't like super random, but it has some elements of it. It does sort of keep me on my toes. And also, I think I do sometimes deviate from some paths, but I don't know, like, it's hard for me to focus on. I don't... Like I was saying, there's a zenness to this game, which actually kind of makes it hard to pay attention to what I'm doing in the moment.
Oh, I know what you mean. It becomes so video gamified.
Yeah, I'm so in the flow state when I'm playing this game that, like, the details get lost on me.
That's me when I play Sentinels on the computer now. I've known the characters. I've played the characters and the villains and the environment so much that I'm just like, I now have a rhythm set up for I'm going to deal with a problem when it comes up, when a certain card gets played. So I know what I want. Yeah. And so I don't, where I used to get lost in like, what would this look like narratively? I just don't imagine that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to be completely honest with you, I love that flow state to reach in games. It's a very good feeling. Like, yeah. I don't know about that one. I don't think I lose myself in the game. That elevator doesn't go back down, so you have to pick up the armor when you go up there. There's a lot of weird elements like that in this game. Not weird. It makes sense, but I don't know.
It's weird going through these levels and re-experiencing them. It's been so long since I've played them, but the moment I see them, I remember them.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's episode 1 of Doom is, I think, seared into a lot of people's memories, especially people that grew up in the 90s or maybe a little bit in the early 2000s as well. Just like, it was so ubiquitous, right? Like I said, the first episode of this game was shareware, so like everybody that had internet access had it. And like Doom as a cultural touchstone was so like, you know, at the time it came out, it was like, oh my god, this game is so violent and it's like satanic and
it's gonna ruin our kids.
It's gonna ruin our kids. They're too busy playing Doom. They're not gonna study. They're gonna worship the devil or whatever. Which, I mean, is obviously bullshit, but also I think what's interesting about that, it means that it's like there's like this lasting impression of what the game is, which is why I think it's kind of interesting that it's interesting that they rebooted it in 2016, for lack of a better word. Even though the 2016 game is in some ways a continuation. I guess we haven't even talked about the story of this game. I can get to that in a second after I'm done with this, but like, what Doom is in people's heads is so much more than what the game actually is.
Oh, yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, this game is violent, and there are demons in it, but it's... one of the ways that I've heard this game described that I think is accurate is juvenile. It's a very juvenile game. You're a solo guy running around shooting demons. The way that they die and explode into gore is like... It's slapstick comedy, you know? It's like Evil Dead 2. I mean, Evil Dead 2 was a huge influence on the developers of this game as well, right? Like, they were playing D&D and watching shitty horror movies, and that's what this game is. Oh, so this room is all blue.
I just saw it.
Right? It looks kind of like a thing. It's not exactly that thing. It used to be that thing, and they patched it out. So, I'm not sure. People might mistake that for, like, genuine racism. These guys also made Wolfenstein 3D,
right?
And this room is a reference to Wolfenstein because Wolfenstein had a bunch of blue walls. Like, that's all they were doing. They weren't really thinking about it. Which, to be fair, they patched it out later because, you know, they don't want that thing in the game,
right? Which
makes sense. But they weren't. You know, it was like, hey, we made Wolfenstein. There's a bunch of Nazi imagery in that game too. So. Put a little in the game, but nope, that's they decided against it at some point, which, yeah, is fair, makes sense.
It's a good call.
But it's a good call, but I do also appreciate, there's monster infighting.
I forgot about that.
Yep, so if different monster types hit each other while they're attacking you, they will start to attack each other. Which is just... That's just how demons are, right? Like, and that's a thing that they programmed in that they didn't need to, but adds such an amazing flavor to the game. like that demons fight each other. I don't know. I love
Blood
it.
War.
Yeah, exactly. Like these guys, like what a demon is in pop culture, right? Is this like horribly malevolent being that has like that's just like pure evil. And so it makes sense that they would fight each other if they're different types. They have like all sorts of weird yeah, they hate each other. They're willing to work together to kill you, but otherwise they just can't stand each other. Which I love the implications of the lore of this game. Oh, which I guess that is a nice segue. It wasn't even on purpose to talking about the story. So we're not even... A lot of people associate Doom with Mars. I mean, technically, we're near Mars. We're not on Mars. We're on Mars's moon, Phobos, right now. The first episode of Doom takes place on Phobos. The story of the game is that you are a Marine who has been placed on sort of shitty duty guarding the UAC after your original commanding officer told you to fire on civilians and you punched him in the face for it. He sends you on shit duty to hang out with a bunch of scientists. Meanwhile, those UAC scientists are working on a teleportation device between Phobos and Deimos, the two Mars moons. And they accidentally send Deimos into... they don't know where it goes. It disappears from the sky. And then demons start coming out of the other end of the portal on Phobos. And that's the story. That's where it starts, and you're just this guy. Oh, I guess you're, like, stationed with a bunch of other people that die, but, like, that never comes up. That was a holdover from the original pitch of this game, which was actually going to have, like, more story in it and have a bunch of stuff, but it got scrapped pretty early on.
For more ass-kicking.
Yeah, because John Romero loves ass-kicking. He loves games that are super fast and super fun, and he doesn't give a shit about the story, so he's just like, fuck it. Like, you know. Just enough. And John Carmack famously is the same way. He said, story in a video game is like story in a porno. Like, that's not what you're there for, which I don't necessarily agree with wholeheartedly, but his attitude makes total sense for this game. Doom is not here for the story. Doom is here for shooting demons. Which it does wonderfully.
It sure does. So the story before was about what has science done, but the story now is what has capitalism done.
To be fair, I think they are kind of two sides of the same coin, because it's like scientific progress for the sake of profit, right? I don't know. In this game, they definitely don't establish profit as the motive of the UAC, but the new game definitely does establish profit as the motive. It's just, you know, I guess there is sort of a what has science done, messing with technology you don't understand or something like that. But it's just an excuse to get demons into the game, really. Another, I guess, fun fact is that at some point, I don't know if it was during development, like development of Doom had already started, or if this was before. I guess it's long enough that there's no NDA about it, but they've talked about how, was it Fox that owned the rights at the time, or still owns the rights to the Alien franchise? Like, they were originally approached to make a game, like an Aliens game, and I don't know how much of that went through development before it turned into Doom, but there is totally that vibe to it of being stranded in space fighting monsters that make no sense. It definitely didn't last very long. Like, they decided pretty quickly to not go down that road and to make their own thing instead. But there's definitely a lot of flavor of that in here, so I don't know how much influence that original Fox pitch had left an impression on them.
Okay. Who did they pitch it to? Did they pitch it to id?
Yeah, I believe that id Software, was the one that they were approached by whoever owns the Alien rights. I think that's how that happened.
I looked it up later. That's wrong, actually.
I don't remember exactly. A lot of these stories are just like in my brain, and I haven't researched these. These are just like things I remember hearing about over time from the guys themselves. So I have some confidence. It's not just like hearsay, but
Right.
I guess it's technically hearsay. It's just from the developers' mouths, so it's pretty
Reasonably true.
reasonable hearsay. Yeah.
Ugh, I forgot about how weird it is. Because the suit will eventually come off, and then the game will look weird again. As your eyes adjust to normal.
It's all green now, yeah. And then it's gonna not be green. And then it'll be, normal. I like, whenever you pick up an item, the screen goes yellow. When you have the radiation suit on, the screen is green. Invulnerability, which we won't get to in this episode, but that makes the screen go all black and white, and it looks fucking eye blasting. But the interesting thing about like the radiation suit or picking up an item or whatever, right, is that this game doesn't actually have screen filters, so to speak. So like whenever the color shifts in that way specifically, it's like the whole game world is actually turning that color until the effect wears off. Like, I know it's weird to think about, but it's not like on the screen, it's like in the game, and it just looks that way. It's super weird. It's also, I guess, I don't know, worth pointing out that this game doesn't have any sort of colored lighting or anything. It's just textures have colors, but the lighting is all it's all like sort of baked into the engine in a way where
that wall's a different color. Hell yeah.
Oh my god, there's a secret. Yep. That, by the way, is totally the giveaway for secrets in this game. It's a different color, it's slightly off, like the texturing is slightly off. There's so many wonderful secrets hidden just by that. Oh, and I took the portal. Takes you back to the start. There's a lot of like I was saying earlier about this being an updated version of the game, a lot of the updates were made for deathmatch flow. So like a lot of these levels are designed primarily to be played single player, but like you could play them in deathmatch. You can play them cooperatively too. There's actually a fully fleshed out co-op mode in Doom. It was way ahead of its time. And so they made a lot of changes to these old maps, specifically for deathmatch sake, so that there were like teleporters to move you around, and the maps weren't so static, I guess. Weird times, because that's not a thing anymore. Now we have multiplayer specific maps. But that kind of came out of this because then map makers would make deathmatch specific maps that were like way better. So if it weren't for that implementation, again, the influence of this game, to think about what video games, especially shooters, would be like in this, like if Doom didn't exist, oh my god, it would be like unrecognizable. There's so many things this game did. This is the first of many, right? With the Diablo games that came out about this time, like even Quake had some like pretty gnarly, spooky imagery. I kind of wonder, like, was the 90s, in terms of like, I don't know how to describe it, but like in the 90s, when all of these games were coming out, whether they were RPGs or dark fantasy or first-person shooters or whatever, was like this all a response to Satanic Panic? Like, were they just capitalizing on it as like a, I don't know, a method of flipping the script, I guess? Yeah, I honestly think a fair amount of it is. But I think also there's just like, I think it was so ubiquitous that like because there was this Satanic Panic thing, it was like in everybody's heads. So I don't know if it was, how much of it was on purpose and how much of it was just accidental because that's what the times were like, right? I don't know. It is worth pointing out, I mean, I'm sure, but Quake was made by id Software, right? That was what they made after Doom.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, it makes sense, and yeah, Diablo has its own fair share of Satan in it. But like a game, you know, there's other games that came out that were targets of blame in regards to violent tendencies, right? Like Mortal Kombat was blamed a lot, and that game doesn't really have any satanic imagery, although it is extremely violent in the same way that Doom is. Or like Night Trap, which Night Trap sucks. So the fact that that game's not even violent. That game just, it's not terrible. It's interesting, but it's interesting in completely different ways than Doom or Mortal Kombat is. Yeah, I don't know, response-wise, but it is weird, right? There were a lot of... And again, like, Evil Dead was an influence on this game, and Evil Dead came out in, like, I don't know, mid-late 80s? I don't remember exactly when it came out. But definitely, there was something in the air.
Yeah.
Something people were picking up on, a vibe.
Yeah, and it might just be that they weren't really picking up on Satanic Panic. It's just that Satanic Panic was a byproduct of 80s horror, and so all the people who finally had careers in the 90s, that's what they were influenced by, so they carried it on, but differently. Exactly.
It's a really chicken and egg kind of quandary. I don't know what came first or why, but it happened, and then it had like a big splash in pop culture spaces.
Yeah. And now that splash is carried over, right? So there was too much water in the splash zone, so now what's left is like heavy sci-fi like Destiny or Halo. But what is splashed over is, it's not like games like Doom don't get made anymore. It's just that they're like, from what at least I gather, is mostly independent. There's still a lot of horror games, but at least in terms of this aesthetic, where it's very like Aliens, H.R. Giger. But I mean, like, Resident Evil still exists. But I wouldn't quite put Resident Evil in the same vein as like Doom. Like, it involves zombies and shooting zombies, but it's a very different tone.
It's a very different,
Resident Evil typically isn't about ass kicking. I mean, there are certainly moments of ass kickery, but Resident Evil wants you to be more scared than Doom does.
Yes, which I actually find kind of interesting about Doom is that I actually think this is a pretty effective horror game from a certain perspective. I mean, obviously, you have a lot of badass guns and you kill a lot more demons than they kill of you, but like the imagery and the low lighting, and like this room has flashing lights, like there's a lot of and Bobby Prince's music specifically, like, I mean, there are some more metal tracks, but like this, there's like this persistence, there's like this, and I love Doom Guy's shifty eyes on the status bar, like there's this constant lookout for danger, right, is what I'm trying to put into words. Like, this game is about, you're always in danger, and you have to fight that danger as opposed to run away from it or deal with it in some other way. But danger is persistent, right? Like, in the new Doom game, in Doom 2016, I feel like you are the danger, and so you're not scared at any point in the new Doom, because you're the one you're just so much more powerful than the demons, it's like not even a fair fight. But in this game, one wrong step and you're fucked, and it really feels that way, right? Like, there's this sort of... It's not horror in the traditional sense, but I love the tension that's in this game. Like, it just feels really tense to me, which I really like. And I think part of what works from a horror perspective is the resource management of this game. So, like, there's... ammo only exists when you can pick it up off the floor. Same with health, same with armor. So, like, your resources are dictated by what you can find. From, like, a meta perspective, it's dictated by the level designer. And from, like, an in-game perspective, it's, like, dictated by what's in your sight. You're like, I have to pick this up. I can't carry this with me. Like, if you find excess, you have to remember where it is to come back for it. So, like, there is this element of constantly scrounging as well, which gives it this feeling of always needing to push forward. Like, you can't ever stay still. Like, you're trying to get to the end of the level. It's funny, you don't have to kill the demons in this game. I mean, some of them you have to, otherwise the level won't end or they block your path, but, like, technically speaking, like, for speedrunners, many of the demons are not killed. You just run past them. Because you're just trying to get to the exit. That's the whole point of each level is you start, go find the exit. Yeah, so I just... all that to say that there are shooters that focus on the power fantasy element, and definitely the new Doom does that, but this game rides the line pretty well. And I think there's a lot of other shooters that are like varying degrees of that. Where like Halo is definitely more of a power fantasy because you've got regenerating shields, but it also has the interesting limited resources of only being able to carry 2 guns, having limited ammo capacity. There is still a threat, but it's not nearly as horrifying, so I don't know. Genre is fake, but it is interesting to talk about.
True.
Like, it is interesting that there's all these classifications. There's invisible demons that are very difficult to see here. See, like, I had 200 armor earlier, I got fucked up.
Was genre fiction invented by college professors so they could try to get away with writing really boring stories? This is about a guy riding a bus, thinking about his latest breakup. The end.
Yeah.
Ah, good.
Yeah.
Garden State.
I know you're making a joke, but I do think that genre fiction has its roots in a more pulpy sense, which was like, what do people like? What will sell well? Just make more of it.
Yeah. That's the real answer.
Like, so here's the thing. That's actually something worth going off of for Doom, is that the term first-person shooter didn't exist at the time that Doom came out, right? Mm-hmm. And then games that were made after Doom that were ripping off Doom's success were called Doom clones. And it was only after, hundreds of these games were made that someone was like, okay, we need a name for this type of genre. Because there's lots of games that have a first-person perspective that are shooter games that don't feel like Doom, they don't play like Doom. The only thing they have in common is the camera perspective, and violence is like a factor in the game. So it was like, we have to come up with a name for this, right? And it took a while. I think it took a couple of years. I don't know if Quake would... I mean, it is a first-person shooter. I just don't know if it was designed with that namesake yet. I don't know if that genre name existed. I don't know when that came about specifically.
The X-Files episode.
Yeah, that's what made it. Yeah.
That's what made it.
That episode is just like Doom.
It's just like Doom.
It's just like it.
The moment you start it, you want it to end. full of rampant sexism.
Oh yeah, I love that dominatrix.
And all the worst parts of gaming culture is in there.
Who's the guy? There was a guy. Is it the guy that wrote Neuromancer? The guy that wrote that episode, he also wrote that episode where Mulder gets like trapped in the Matrix in some RV somewhere.
Oh yeah.
You remember that episode? It's the same guy. Because that one also has like a weird sexy nurse in it, right? Yeah. There's like this weird horny element to it that is like some extra level of, I don't know what that guy's going for exactly. He just loves horny Matrix. It's just fine, I guess. It's just weird that...
It's just weird when he obviously has a kink and he keeps just shoving it down our throats. And we're just like, please stop, sir. Yeah.
It's like Tarantino and feet.
Yeah.
Just, I'm not
It's just
interested.
Like one step away from just like showing us himself naked. He's just like on the cusp. He's on the... fuck it, I'll do it, fam.
Oh, man. What was that guy's name? The guy that's in Creep. He's like a director, but he was like acting in that movie. He gets naked in Creep 2, and that was like one of those moments where I was like, this is weird. Like, this feels like the director is horny and including me in his fetish when I haven't consented to it. I mean, it was kind of the point, was that the guy is a creep, so I mean... But again, that's just the perfect excuse, right? So... It's... I don't know. That movie... It's funny, Creep 2 was better than Creep 1, but the fact that he gets fully naked is kind of like... It's kind of a downside. I don't like either of those movies. I shouldn't be talking about them, because I think they're bad. I try to avoid talking about things that I think are bad.
I can't wait for the Brutal Doom guy to do a creep mod.
Yeah. I don't even know how we got that. I mean, I understand the connection, but it's just lunacy. That doesn't make any sense. It's funny though. Hey, we're playing Doom.
We're playing Doom.
We were talking about X-Files for a while. I got kind of lost in the sauce. I forgot that this game was playing.
Creep 3D.
Creep 3D. You know, speaking of movies, there were 2 Doom movies that have come out over the years.
That's right. I forgot there was a second one that I heard was complete trash.
It's very bad.
Where the first one is like nostalgia trash. This one just sounds like nothing trash.
To be completely frank, I think they're both trash. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for the first Doom movie. I know some people like it, but I think it's so... It came out around the same time as Doom 3, and there was this whole... It's funny, there's 90s Edge, and then there was like mid-2000s Edge, and I just don't have nostalgia for mid-2000s Edge. Like, I just think it's too, like, I don't know, it's like weirdly mean-spirited and not fun, and there's... But I do like the first-person sequence in that movie, though. That's charming.
Yeah.
But that movie has, of course, famously has The Rock in it, but it also has, fucking what's-his-face?
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, Judge Dredd.
Boys.
I was gonna say The Boys, yeah. I was also gonna say Bones from the Star Trek reboots.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of that guy's name.
From Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, which is a shame, because he's a really good actor. I wish I could remember his name.
Well, you know, he had to climb to the top through all the turds first.
Yeah. Oh, he was in a lot of shitty movies. He was in Ghost.
The Rock has no excuse.
He was in Ghost Ship. Well, The Rock's excuse is that The Rock loves money, I think.
He will make complete garbage. He'll be in Rampage.
Exactly. He'll be in whatever as long as he gets a paycheck. Which is totally respectable. He's making it work. Like, that's fine. I'm not going to go see these shitty movies, but, you know, I'm sure somebody will.
He probably would have loved being in The Mummy Returns more if he had actually been in it for longer than, 2 minutes.
Well, he did stand alone in The Scorpion King, so...
Gotcha.
That's a good song.
The Rock in Creep 3D.
Yeah. We're gonna see The Rock hang dong in the Creep 3D.
Hang Dong sounds like a Journey song. We are tangenting real hard here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you want? Doom is a great game, and I could talk in depth about, like, how much... I could gush about this all I wanted. I could talk about the specificity of every detail, but I think, you know, this game speaks for itself kind of nicely. I mean, I hate for someone to listen to our conversation and think we're disrespecting the game. I love this game.
It's a super good game.
It's a super good game. It's just... I don't know. I just like chatting.
Well, it's
too.
like how you talked
care.
about how you've played this game so much that you enter a non-fugue state, but a state nonetheless. And so sometimes what happens to me when I enter those states while playing video games or card games or whatever, especially by myself, what ends up happening to me is like I just end up having like these like subconscious thoughts that start bubbling up to the surface that I don't really pay attention to. Like,
Yeah.
whether it's about bills or a movie I just watched, like I find myself having these weird bubble thoughts while entering my state, and it's weird. It's almost like video games if you memorize them in a certain way, let you enter an almost lucid dreamlike state where
It's meditative,
Right.
yeah, like almost by definition.
yeah, it
Like-
lets you access thoughts that you otherwise wouldn't in your just normal conscious life
Exactly, yeah.
because you're too busy paying bills or being at work.
Yeah, exactly. When you play a game, especially one that you know really well, it's this weird exploration of, like, the self, in a way. It's like your brain is, like, just so not having to think that, but still focus, right? There's still something that's driving your attention. So, you don't think too hard. Oh, I have to charge my phone. Fuck. Hey, we're almost done. This is the last level.
Wow,
of
are we
Doom
gonna? I
1.
was gonna say, are we making it through episode 1?
We're making it through all the way of episode 1. Yeah, this video is what, like 50 minutes long or something, an hour long. Which honestly, I thought it was going to take less time to get through this, but it took a lot longer than I thought. So you're asking me earlier about, like, do I change the way I play? I definitely didn't change as much as I do when I'm playing Doom 2016, but I was definitely intentional in some of this about, like, making sure that I showed off every secret and stuff, like, that I might skip otherwise. So that definitely made it take a little bit more time, but I don't give a shit. Yeah, the episodes in this game aren't that long. Like, I mean, on a relative scale, maybe an hour at most. I don't think any of them are... They're all the same amount of levels. It's just if the level is in particular longer or not.
Oh, God.
Does it change the timing? No. It's technically a boss fight. Kind of. Not really. I mean, these guys are just barons of hell. They're enemies that show up later, but you have to kill them to progress in this one, so they kind of count like a boss fight, I guess. I love, by the way, talking about the music, this song, Sign of Evil, is, I think, my favorite song in the Doom soundtrack. This is the melancholy and the sort of horror that I like about Doom. Like, it's just on that cusp. It's still, like, funny. Like, it still has an element of over-the-topness, but...
I appreciate the acid ceiling in here.
It's very melancholy, yeah. And this, so... all of this episode was done by John Romero, except for this level, which was done by Sandy Peterson. Sandy Peterson designed most of the levels in this game and in Doom 2. Sandy Peterson...
Oh, that makes sense.
...is a super interesting guy, right? Like, we've talked about him before. He did a lot of work on the Cthulhu RPGs. He's super influenced by just, like, weird shit, like
because this architecture,
non-Euclidean spaces.
This architecture is way more dark fantasy than the other maps have been.
Yes.
The other maps have been like distorted horror sci-fi.
Yes. They're like tech bases, and this is like, there's a star. It's like a pentagram.
I forgot this is where
there's
you
an
die.
acid ceiling. And then you die at the end of the first episode. Yep. And when you
the big
beat the big
badasses.
badasses, they say ass in a game in the 90s. That's so fucked up. You're supposed to win, aren't you? Where's your fat reward? What the hell is this? I love the tone, the voice, the writing voice of this is just so great. You're stuck on the shores of hell, which is episode 2, the shores of hell, and then Inferno is the 3rd episode, and then Thy Flesh Consumed is the 4th episode.
Beautiful.
And, yeah, we'll be back. Oh, and here's all the designers.
Well, look at that shadowing.
Yeah. Most of these guys don't work there anymore, but Kevin Cloud, one of the artists, still does work at id to this day. And Tim Willett's worked there for a long time as well.
That's cool.
Yep.
Where did they all go? Everywhere?
Well, yeah. John Carmack started working for he started making VR headsets. He's working for Oculus or whatever. John Romero has his own like independent game studio. I think it's just called Romero Games. I don't know about everyone else though. Like I know American McGee still makes games. Sandy Peterson is obviously still working on like pen and paper RPGs. I don't know. Kevin Cloud works at it, and everybody else is doing something. I don't know.
Somewhere
Somewhere in hell.